Okay, Glenn, this is my setup here. Got two different monitors. This is the Flight Simulator Steam Edition, and this is the joystick I've got. You can see it's a Logitech Extreme Pro 3D. This here is the throttle. The rudder can be done that way. Currently I've got this set up for my trim. This is set up for my flaps, gear, speed brake, and this is what allows me to look around. And finally, the trigger is the wheel brakes. So here's how I'm going to set it up. Boeing F-18A, flying out of Chico. Current time and season is just going to be a daytime. User-defined weather. I've on the customize advanced weather. You can see that I've got it overcast, cumulus clouds, and if you set up for the visibility, it's completely solid between 500 and 15,000 feet. So for pretty much the entire flight, we're going to be in the soup. Okay, here we are at Chico. We are sitting at runway 13 left, so we're pointing roughly at Beale Air Force Base. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out the cockpit by using the minus key a little bit here. That way give myself a little more room. You can tell it's a pretty big monitor. So here's how you set up the ILS. First, I've got my approach plate from Beale Air Force Base. I just downloaded it. The localizer is 109.5. I'm just going to go ahead and load that in there right now and have it ready so that when we get airborne, it'll pick up KBAB, which is the ILS. So you switch down here to ILS and down here to ILS and put in 1095, enter. Oops, I'm sorry, that was TACAN, not ILS. Here's ILS, right there. 1095, enter. So now that's in, it's off. Obviously, we're too low to pick up the radio at that point. Next thing I'm going to do before I take off is hit the Alt key, which brings up these menus. I'm going to go View, Instrument Panel, and GPS. There's my cheesy Garmin 500 GPS from about 1992. I'm going to drag it onto my other monitor, and mostly I'm just using the GPS for situational awareness. It's actually capable of flying full-on approaches with autopilot from the GPS, but not only have I never quite figured out how to do it, it doesn't sound like it's a lot of fun. So now I'm going to hit Direct, and then the controls are down here. This goes back and forth between numbers, and this actually changes the numbers. In this case, I'm going to start changing this to K, and then advance 1 down here, boink, and then switch it to B, go to the next one, A, oops, A, and B. Hit enter and activate. Boom, now I got a straight line between me and Beale Air Force Base.
What are they?
I want to get rid of this annoying message thing. Just click on it a couple times until it says off. All right, ready to take off. Advance the throttles. You can see the sky is completely gray, which is exactly the way I want it. The one thing about flying a jet in Flight Simulator, if you're not careful, you'll be going extremely fast and extremely high altitude before you even know it. We're gonna go ahead and take up those gear. Chase plane view. Okay, back in the cockpit, you can tell it's completely in the soup, it can see nothing. Go ahead and zoom into the cockpit a little bit and look down into the cockpit. Okay, so here we are to stabilize climb out. I'm doing about 350 knots at 2,500 feet. This particular model of F-18 model for the Flight Simulator has a VNE of about 850 knots. Obviously, we don't want to go anywhere near that on just a quick hop from Chico to Beale. I'm going to try to get to about 5,000 feet and hopefully stabilize around 250 knots. And that obnoxious yelling you hear in the background is my son Max, who is currently playing a game with his friends on Xbox. You can see this is the GPS. It's tracking along. I can actually go up here and change the range so I can see the entire flight. There's Beale right there. That's not super useful, so I'm going to zoom it in. You can see we're not quite exactly aligned with the runway. What I'm going to wait to happen is, as soon as the navigation system picks up the ILS, then I'll start maneuvering to actually get aligned with the runway. Now I'm stable at right around 280 knots, climbing up through 3,700 feet. Again, trying to level off maybe 4,500 or 5,000. Any higher than that, you just have a lot of energy to lose before you land. Accelerating climbing pretty hard right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it down a notch, cut out a little bit of throttle. Always, of course, trim. And right now it's set up to where the TACAN picked up some kind of random signal somewhere. But as soon as I get a little bit closer to Beale, you'll actually see it pick up. This will change from IMIZ to KBAB, and that's when I know that I'm locked onto the proper ILS. Okay, you can now see that the ILS is locked onto, it says IBAB, but it's KBAB, which is Beale. So we now have the localizer is on, and as we get a little bit closer, we'll see the glide slope indicator come on. Right now I'm a little slower than I want to be, so I'm going to bump up the engine, the throttle. Throttle on this thing's pretty sensitive. Like I said the other day, my little knob is very, very sensitive. As you can see, we're starting to get a little slow, so I'm going to bump it up a little bit more. If this were a real F-18, I'd know exactly what the proper pitch and power settings were, but since this is a simulator, I have no idea. I'm just making it up as I go along and just kind of flying it by feel. Okay, now we're at 5,000 feet, don't want to go anymore. I'm going to go ahead and put that pipper right there on the horizon. That'll keep me from sinking anymore, and I should start to gain some speed. Again, I want to keep it about 250. If I go faster than that, then there's going to be too much to lose before I touch down. Looking at my GPS, you can see I'm getting closer. The green extended center line is what the ILS is going to try to get me onto. Okay, we just picked up the glide slope indicator. I'm a little bit below glide slope, but that's okay. I'm also a little bit nose high. Eventually that'll go ahead and come back down. You can see that the localizer is starting to slide over here. The runway at Beale is 150, so that's I'm about 15 degrees off, so that should be coming over. 15's a little bit much. What's going to ultimately happen if I leave it there is all of a sudden it'll rocket over to the right side and I'll be S-ing all the way down. I'm going to go ahead and take out some of that and park it about 9 degrees off to slow down that rate of the localizer coming across. Starting to climb way above the glide slope because I was too busy narrating and not doing enough aviating. So probably take out a little bit of that throttle. Don't need to be going more than 250 knots. That should be good right there. You can see the localizers coming across. That glide slope should start coming up here pretty soon. At this point, I'm mostly flying by trim, by clicking on the trim up, trim down button. And a click down. Every time you hear that click, that's me trimming. I got it set to where you can set it to where the trim, every time you push the button, is a really dramatic click where it changes drastically. I've got it set up so it doesn't actually change that much, so I can get a very good fine-tuned trim. Okay, right now I'm right on that localizer, so I'm going to go ahead and align myself with the runway heading at 150. Still keeping my nose a little low so that I can catch that glide slope. I'm under 350 knots, so I should be safe to go ahead and put my gear down. As you can see, I'm getting pretty close to the runway. I'm at 1.5 nautical miles. It's definitely time to put my gear down. I'm going to also go ahead and put my flaps down. See what it looks like here. See the flaps coming down. I'm now fully configured and ready to go. Now this localizer is going to get a lot more sensitive the closer I get to the runway. As I get closer and closer, it's going to have much more quick swings left and right. So I just want to go, my corrections need to be just a couple degrees off, or I'll be chasing it all the way down. When you look at the final analysis on the map, it'll be S-ing all over the place if I make those motions too wild. 300 knots, still a little bit fast, so I'm going to take out a little bit more throttle, which means, of course, I'm going to have to trim. The glide slope looks like it's kind of getting away from me, so I'm going to go ahead and put the nose down a little bit. Again, don't want to be too crazy with it. As you can see, I'm doing pretty good on getting lined up that runway. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit by ranging down. Almost in that pipe. Still a little bit high in that glide slope. Yeah, I'm at a half a mile out. I'm at 28,000 feet. That's not good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit my speed brake. See it coming out there. And I'm gonna completely kill the throttle at this point. I'm definitely in danger of completely overshooting it. Okay, I'm at 255 knots. Speed's coming down nicely, so I might actually be able to make this runway. Just about caught that glide slope.
We could go to the volcano, but last time...
Okay, I caught the glide slope, so I'm gonna start pulling that nose up so I don't overshoot it. Just about right on it now. I'm at 138 knots, it's a little slow, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off that speed brake. Okay, speed's coming up pretty good, so oh, there we go. I'm now at 370 feet, 150. I need to really get some gas in there. Yeah, I got way below that glide slope, by chasing it, and too much talking and not enough paying attention to what my speed was. Looks like I'm gonna save it okay though. A little fast, gonna hit the speed brake. At this point I'm completely ignoring the localizer. Of course the glide slope's gone. Still going pretty fast, but halfway through the runway. I can touch down at 170 without crashing. So I put on the brakes. Use my little thumb thing here to change where we're looking around.
Yeah, there's my body.
And there you go. Chico to Beale. Terrible weather. Hope you enjoyed it.